Hi guys, it's Elissa at Moat Cottage, and today we're going to harvest and preserve sage. Sage dies off here over the winter, so I want to get it picked before the frost comes. And I'm going to preserve it by freezing as well as dehydrating, so we can enjoy it in different ways over the winter. When you get inside, go through your sage and see if there's any damaged leaves and remove them, or any yellow leaves. And if you find any bugs, take them off too. Give your sage a wash in some clean water and then drain it off. Lay them out on a tea towel or a cloth so that they can dry out a little bit on the cloth. I remove the leaves and I place them on the drying rack so that there's space between the leaves, and that gives good airflow so that the herbs can dry properly. Set your dehydrator to its lowest temperature. Mine is 35 degrees Celsius and that's 95 Fahrenheit. Sage is a pretty cool herb to preserve because you can just put it in the freezer in Ziploc bags and get all the air out, and then they're ready to go whenever you want them, and it's as simple as that. If you watch my channel regularly, you know that I'm getting away from plastic, so I'm not going to be using the Ziploc bags this year. I will be, however, making sage butter. Sage is not good for putting in the canner, so don't use it in any of your canned recipes because it puts a horrible flavour through the whole meal. I've melted some butter and I'm going to cover the sage so that it's fully covered, and I'm going to put it in sizes that I would use. So obviously everybody might do different sizes depending on what you like to use. Now it's ready to put in the freezer. It's been 2 days since we started dehydrating the sage. It's ready now, and so is the sage butter. Now you could do this with oil as well, instead of the butter. I like the oil with my basil, it's quite good in the basil, but I prefer the sage to be with butter. But that's personal preference, so you can do whatever you like. They look quite pretty, don't they? I'll seal these up and put them in the freezer, and when I need them, I will just get one out and use it. I think they'll be great with the mushrooms when I'm cooking mushrooms, and I'll also be able to put them inside chickens when I'm roasting a chicken, which I do every week. They'd be great with roast duck too, and probably rabbit. Oh, the more I think about it, the more I could be growing more food and cooking and eating. Okay. The sage shrinks up a lot once it's dehydrated, and you can tell that it's dehydrated by the sound that it makes. It's quite crunchy and it just breaks up. I'm just going to add all these leaves into the jar and seal it up and put it in a dark place for storage. Some of you are probably wondering why I'm not using my new jars that I bought especially for my new spice rack. And that's because they're all full already. And these are my backup herbs, because all the ones I grow don't go on the spice rack because I usually use them fresh. So mason jars it is for my backup herbs. If you do find any leaves that are a bit soft and not crunchy, then don't put them in because they've probably still got moisture in them, and you don't want one leaf ruining the whole batch because that could create mold because it's got moisture in it. So either put it back on to dehydrate if there's a few of them, or just throw it in the compost bin if it's only one. These are all pretty good so far. So there's a jar of dehydrated sage and some sage butter, and I could make some more if I wanted because there's still some out there. And while I can, I'll just be using fresh. It's really a good idea to use your herbs and spices if you're growing them yourself. Don't just leave them out there and neglect them. because if you bring them in, dehydrate them or turn them into butters or use them fresh when you are cooking, then you're getting nutrition and health benefits from them as well as flavour. And herbs are one of the easiest things to grow. So if you're starting gardening or you've never gardened before and you have an interest in gardening or growing your own food, then start with herbs. If you'd like to see what else we're doing at Moat Cottage at the Small Space Homesteading channel, then make sure you hit subscribe. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.